Mildly Disappointed, episode 86. I have to be quiet. Because there is I don't want to awaken the sleeping dragon. I've been taken hostage. I have been taken hostage by a small human. Called Angus. And he now lives in my house and is very demanding. He's 2.5 weeks old, and I think he's broken. He can't feed himself, he can't walk, he can't talk, refuses to make me a sandwich, and I think he's broken. I tried taking him back. I rocked up at the hospital and they said they have a no returns policy. So I'm like, oh, no returns. Didn't tell me about that before. So you can't he can't go back. So he is now with me for good. And I say hostage, but it's like a Stockholm syndrome. Because I've fallen in love with my captor. I love my captor more than anything I've ever loved before in my life. And it's insanely weird. And he's awesome. I've never been so proud of someone's poo. Ever. How that much poo can come out of something that is 51 centimeters long is beyond me. He is a shitting and puking machine. But every time he pukes on me, I'm insanely proud of him. Very proud of him, actually. It's the greatest thing he's done. That and being able to hold his head up for a matter of seconds. But I really wish he could make me sandwiches, man. I really wish he could make me sandwiches, because I'm very tired and I need energy, because sleeplessness is a thing. Sleeplessness is a big thing. I didn't know. Everyone warned you. Enjoy the sleep while it lasts. I've never experienced sleeplessness like this. But I'm doing it. And just keep going. I'm on autopilot and continuing and going and enjoying being a dad. Very much so. It's the greatest thing. It's so cool. It is so cool having a little human, one of you, running around. Well, he doesn't run. Also, another reason is he's broken. I'm sure he'll be okay. But he's not walking yet. Bit of a worry. I'm sure he'll be okay. Maybe 9 months. So, yeah. This is also the reason why the podcast is so late. Shouldn't really be an excuse, but there's been more important things going on in my life, if I'm completely honest. I've been dadding to the best of my abilities and loving it very, very much. Very, very much. So it's a new level of thing. I didn't realize that a lot of the things, the cliches, I don't know if they're cliches, but they are true. It's like I didn't understand love until I had a human of my own. My human with my jeans, with my denim, with my Levi's. Now I've got this little human with my Levi's, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure. This overwhelming sense of responsibility, and also the massive freak out session at the first night when you get him home, and that drive home, and that's also a thing. It's just like, I don't know what to do. Why are you crying? Because he cries. He likes to cry, but he's a good kid. He's a good kid. Not a good conversationalist, but it's okay. That's all right. He's mute. He's not mute, but he doesn't say much. Makes a lot of funny faces. Farts. Wow. I mean, at least I know his mind even by from that, just because of the farts. Oh my goodness. Loud. Wakes him up, they're so loud. I'm impressed. Sure, that's how loud his farts are. They wake him up. So yeah, something to be proud of already. So that's why the podcast is late. I recorded this with one Mr. Bob Perfect. Before going into the hospital. I went into the hospital for 3 days because once you're in, you can't go out with the whole COVID thing. So I was in there doing the hospital thing, sleeping on a little cot, getting to know him, chilling with him, hanging out. It was good. And then just trying to get into some form of routine. So finally now I'm getting around to recording a podcast intro, so I can release this episode, which I recorded with the great and powerful, the one and only Bob Perfect. He is a podcaster himself of the Almost Perfect podcast, where he interviews and chats to creatives about their creative process, for creatives, by creatives, to inspire creatives and illuminate creatives of their experience, so you can learn from experience, but other people's experience. Very cool podcast. And we had a very cool conversation. He's very interesting, passionate, and very interesting, passionate, and he's got a lot of conviction. And I admire that. I admire that very much so. I really enjoyed our chat, despite having not too much in common, which made me enjoy it even more, because we now had awesome discourse. We had an amazing chat, and it was a perfect example of how people who necessarily don't have everything the same views or values or things in common can have a good, interesting, pleasant conversation and learn interesting things from each other and have a couple of laughs as well. There we go. We did it. If Israel and Palestine need negotiators, if they need peace talks, I think they should talk to us. We pretty much single-handedly solved world peace in this conversation. And we get into so much. It's a long podcast. I mean, people who don't agree. Oh, you don't think people who don't? You think people with different views and values? You look at the media these days. You think like, oh, well, these two people will never get along and they will just argue. That's what Facebook and social media all says. But oh no, wait, we had a long, awesome conversation of almost 2 hours. I'm not saying we don't agree on anything. We agreed on a lot, but we also didn't agree on things as well. And I like that. I like that a lot. Both willing to learn, both willing to have a conversation, both willing to just because people have different views don't mean that they can't have an interesting conversation. Just because someone it's like, Muslims and Christians can be friends, man. Can be friends. Just because someone that has a different value or a different opinion to you doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that they're different. It doesn't mean that anything is wrong. So yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm glad I'm finally getting to release it. So please check out his podcast, the Almost Perfect Podcast. Subscribe, like his Facebook page, check out all the things he does. All his notes are in the show notes as usual, and in the description. And like and rate and review his podcast. It's very cool. He said some very cool people on, comedians, friends of his. He's also a comedian, and musicians, poets, politicians. He's got a lot of cool, interesting, different people. He's got a nice vibe. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and also don't forget to like this Facebook page, Mildly Disappointed. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and on your podcast player. Write a review for this on iTunes. Don't forget also to check out the Patreon. If you could subscribe, that would be awesome. It will get you an extra episode every week, just a spoken one, the spoken word episode. So do the Patreon, and please share this podcast with anyone who you think might like it. As usual, you guys are the best. Peace out. I love you, cunts.
Are you saying, what got you into the whole podcasting thing? What made you decide to start one?
I've been wanting to do it since I heard Mark Maron nearly 10 years ago, to be completely honest with you. I loved his podcast in particular. And from there, just found lots and lots of other podcasts that I've enjoyed over the years. And so it was something I always wanted to do, but I didn't really think South Africa was ready for a long time. And then eventually, I got into radio, and I did radio for about 2 years. I did community radio here in Durban. Okay. And then I started podcasting, I think at first with Neil Green. We did the Live from the Winston podcast. That might have been the first one we did.
Wow.
So that was a while ago.
Holy shit.
We actually would do, so I used to run a gig at the Winston called Underground Comedy.
Oh, nice.
And so we used to do that every Wednesday. And then Neil and I started a podcast we'd do before the gig. So we'd do it outside at the back, and whilst people were coming in and stuff, and we'd just talk about like that week's events and stuff like that. So that I think was the first podcast I did. And then, yeah, I started the Almost Perfect podcast just because I love interviewing people. I love talking to people. I love sharing. Also, I just love sharing new stuff with people.
For sure.
Like the thing, and sharing new people with people, putting a spotlight on things that I love and enjoy.
100%, man. That's exactly why I'm doing it as well. Is just and the added benefit of it is like I get to like exactly what you said. I get to introduce people to cool people, and then I also get to pick people's brains, because like it's like, I mean, like having a conversation like you did with Laz the other day, or like I've like chatted to Mojack, or like I've like spoken to Chris Forrest or whatever, like comedians who like I respect and watch or whatever. It's like I'm this like young whippersnapper who like they'll give me time, but they're not going to give me an hour's worth of time. But if I'm like saying, hey, I'm going to record it, it's going to be a podcast, and I'm going to put it out to my viewers, then they're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll get some new fans, and there's something in it for them. So there's you know what I mean, a give and take, I think.
I feel you there. For me, like, it's a lot of the people I get on are friends. You know, they're people I've known for a while. Like, I've got relationships with them. I've got like they're people who I've spoken to before, and I've really enjoyed the conversation, essentially. Although there are quite a few times that there's been a couple that it's been the first time I've even spoken to them. You know, I've met them and done it because of promo things and stuff like that. You know, like they were touring in Durban, and, you know, I enjoy their music. So I was like, cool, let's chat. But a lot of the time it's people who I already know quite well. I already have an understanding of how they view the world. And so I wanted to share their story or their viewpoints. And yeah, like I had Carvin Goldstone on the other day. And earlier this month, we had like an hour-long phone call, you know, just a really long, deep chat about life and the world, and just, you know, just a lot of philosophical and crazy stuff. And so I was like, dude, let's chat about this, you know, on the podcast. And so, you know, about 2 weeks later, we sat down and we chat on the podcast and went over a lot of the same things, but also explored new avenues with it. So that's what I love. It's also bringing up these things that you know about someone that no one else does. And you get to explore different avenues and like show a human side. I can't necessarily say who I've got coming up soon, but I do have someone that is pretty high profile, and the way I want to do the interview with them is going to not necessarily touch on their career, what they do for their career, but more why they do it and stuff like that. So I'm pretty keen for that.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's flipping cool. I mean, it kind of just, I feel like, builds on itself. You know what I mean? It's like, so like, I think that's amazing. So you're just speaking to or interviewing the people that you want to speak to. So like, you're not doing it for anyone specifically. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? But then there's an audience out there and they're listening to it because they're like, oh, this guy is cool.
The idea is like that it's a creative careers kind of podcast. Like that is what we usually cover in a lot of the conversations. It's how people get to where they are. And they might not necessarily be the most successful or most famous person. And that's what I like about it as well. It's not necessarily chatting to someone who's made it. It's chatting to people who are in the process of making it.
Gotcha.
And I want the audience to essentially be the same kind of people, you know, people who are striving towards, you know, who are creative people who are striving towards something. Doesn't necessarily have to be success, because that's something that the podcast has really made me think a lot about, you know, what that is and what it is for me and what it is for other people and stuff like that. And I think that we explore that quite a lot, which is really, really cool. And that's one of the things I love about the podcast is finding out, you know, one person wants to be a billionaire, the other person wants to give all their money away. You know, it's I really love that kind of aspect of things and just getting those differences from people. So yeah, I think the audience for the Almost Perfect podcast I mean, I know the stats are 24 to 33 is like the main thing, but I am trying to get a bit of a younger audience in any way, because I do feel like they can learn a lot from the stories that people are telling. So young creatives is who I really want, you know, to be speaking to. But a lot of the time I feel like I am speaking to people who are in a similar boat to me.
Okay, cool. So, but that's nice, because then you have that common ground as well. So you've got that, like, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what industry they're in, if they're creative and then they've got this kind of drive and then they've got this kind of thing, that like how they're getting there and they're kind of doing the thing. It's like, it's almost like the apprentice not vibe. You know what I mean? It's just like willing to learn from anyone. You know what I mean? That's also why like I like doing the podcast as well, because like
I thought you were talking about Donald Trump there for a second. I was like,
no,
I don't know. I'm not gonna fire anybody.
No, dude, no. Hey, bro, if your aspirations to become the president of the US, it seems you have to be on a reality show first, bro. So, but it makes a lot of sense because like he's like, it's a popularity contest, and he just won a popularity.
100%.
You know what I mean? So it's just like,
yeah, and he manipulates the media so well, and just like you gotta in some ways like applaud it, but at the same time it's completely disgusting what's happened. But I just look at the whole thing and was just like, at first I was like, there's no fucking way he could win it, there's no fucking way he could win it. Then I was like, oh shit, he's gonna fucking win.
Like, I know, I was driving in my car when it happened and I was like, no, bro, no, what? And I had to stop.
Like, you all remember where you were on the day.
Yeah, but it's so weird. It was just like, I was like, I was driving down the road, and then I pulled into a gas station or like a fucking petrol station, and there happened to be a Burger King there. So I was like lamenting a little bit of how the world is going to end and how troubling this is. And then I walked straight into the Burger King and I bought an American product straight away. And I was busy eating, and I was like, what am I doing? And then I felt bad for like supporting Trump in some way. I'm like, no, oh my God. It was just like, I had like a mad little existential crisis. I felt terrible about myself and carried on with my day. It was horrible.
But at least imagine how you would have been feeling if you were American.
That's the thing. I've got a bit about that. It's just like, that's the thing. Imagine being an American and voting for that asshole, and then he gets into power. You know what I mean? That's like wiping your ass and your finger goes through the toilet paper. Because not only is it shitty, you've realized you fucked yourself, bro. Like, you're done. You put yourself in the hole. You know what I mean? It's just like so much trouble.
And like, I just love that, some people like voted for him to like own the libs, and they just like own their fucking selves. There's so many things that you see like where like people are like, I voted for you because I wanted you to do this thing, and now like I've got diabetes and I'm dying, and you're just like, oh, choices were made, eh? Like you made your choices.
But it's like, you don't. Oh, that's ridiculous. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So they voted for him so he would do these things for them. And then they're surprised when he's a self-serving piece of shit. He's always been a self-serving piece of shit. He's never fucking done anything for anyone else. He doesn't give a fuck about anyone else. And they're like, Donald Trump won't do this for me, and Donald Trump won't do that for me. Like, yeah, he's selfish. He's a selfish cunt. Just you voted.
Yeah, but I think but I also think it's an inherent issue, like with stuff like voting and with the media being used within the whole voting system anyway, because, you know, people are just going to say whatever they want to say, and you also are going to buy into whatever it is that you want to hear. So you're hearing these things that you want to hear, and you're going, hey, he's saying the stuff I want to hear. I agree with him on these things. Yeah. And you're negating all the things you disagree with him on, or you're thinking, oh, that's not actually going to happen, or that's not actually going to be that bad. And meanwhile, it's been worse. It's been everything he said he was going to do, like, he hasn't necessarily done. He's just fucked it all up. He's just like dismantled everything and just made the whole process really difficult for anyone to... I mean, he's going to go to jail after this, obviously. Like, like, there's no way, like, it might take a while. He's really hampered the justice system there. And like, but he is going to go to jail eventually. And I mean, which is more than we can say for Jacob Zuma, you know? So
exactly.
Who knows?
He's still loving his life. So like, let's just say that it's a crazy world that we live in. It's just like, what is going on? That's also the nice thing about the podcast at the moment. I'm like, people must be desperate for content. Let me keep putting stuff out there. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like, that's all I've done. But I've always been like a podcast fiend, bro. Like, I'm taking a shit, podcast on my phone, in the shower, podcast in the shower. You know what I mean? Bath. Oh, I can't stop.
Yeah, I'm also constantly listening to them.
Yeah. Is there anything?
What are some of your faves?
So, okay. Have you heard the Duncan Trussell Family Hour?
No, not at all.
He's one of Joe Rogan's, like, he lived on Joe Rogan's couch for like 4 or 5 years while he was a doorman at the comedy store.
At the store?
At the store, yeah. And he is amazing. He's so crazy. Have you seen The Midnight Gospel? It's on Netflix.
No, I don't even have Netflix.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Well, it's like, but anyway, it's based around his podcast, but it's like, so he's got an amazing podcast, and it's super trippy and very psychedelic. And he's a big fan of all that type of vibe for spirituality and meditation and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And his podcast is, he speaks to meditation teachers and to like psychedelic, like psychonauts and like people in exploration, like a guy called Aubrey Marcus. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's also he's a Joe
I think
Rogan.
like David Lynch is about as far as I go when it goes to like the meditation stuff, and like
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But like I have like looked at transcendental meditation and I've tried it like a couple times.
Meditation's hard.
Difficult, very hard to just try and quieten your mind.
Bro, it is.
Like,
it's fucking hard, yeah.
But you're quite big into meditation and into like, I know like psychedelics and stuff as well. Like, but like, I think I love psychedelics, but I love just fucking having fun on them, like, hey, I'm just like, shrooms on a night out are like the vibe, like not a lot, half a gram and a night is wonderful.
Hey man, don't get me wrong. I like doing like a half a gram, maybe 2 on a hike or something like that. But sometimes I do want to do 5 and go deep. You know what I mean? And just like kind of like figure some childhood shit out. But that's that.
See, I don't want that at all. Like I'm avoiding that forever. Like,
hey man, I avoided it. I'm good, man. I'm good up here. I don't want to go down there, but there's sharks down there, man. There's sharks and there's fucking, dude. There's all sorts of shit, bro. There's great whites down there, and I've faced the great whites, and then I came out, but like, they were nipping at me. They were nipping. It hurts.
That's the thing. I've never really had I've had one hectic trip on shrooms. I mean, I've done acid a few times. That's like always just like fun. Like I've never had a bad time with that. Sure. I did hallucinate fucked up though. I was at a punk festival in Bloemfontein called, was it Obscene Fest? I think it was called Obscene Fest, like years and years and years ago. And I genuinely saw fucking velociraptors, like the velociraptors from from Jurassic Park. I saw the 3 of them. They were running past. One turned and looked at me, and then they carried on running. That was like the craziest fucking and I can't explain to people, like, because people think like there's no way you actually saw them. I'm like, dude, that's what I saw. Like, I know hallucinogens don't go that far usually, but that was my reality for that brief period of time. Yes, that was a very fucking interesting experience. But I wasn't scared or anything. I was completely calm, completely just like, I mean, I knew it wasn't real.
Yeah, for sure.
Dinosaurs aren't real.
No, well, they not at the moment, at least. They were previously, but like, you're not going to tell me you're a creationist or something, are you? No, I'm joking. I don't know.
Oh God, no.
But that's ironic, actually. So you've never had a bad experience at all, why? And then
I had like the most hectic one I had was actually at Splashy Fen, and it was the day before. Like there was this one set that I did that got in the newspapers because like I saw God on Easter Sunday, and it was because I'd been reading Lenny Bruce's How to Talk Dirty and Influence People, and then I took shrooms and stuff, and that fucked me up a bit because in the book he writes about his girlfriend and him getting into a car accident. They got hit by a truck, but the way he describes it is incredibly graphic, and it's incredibly like, it sticks with you. And sure. When I was on shrooms, that came like through like quite a lot, and just a lot of Lenny Bruce's life and a lot of him, like I was just like in that space a lot, and it was kind of dark, kind of good, and then it led to me being very, very atheistic on Easter Sunday at Splashy Fen. I got pulled off stage by Simi, and then I got interviewed by Sally Scott for the Independent on Saturday, and it was like a 3.25 page spread. And that was like my 10th gig in comedy. So that was probably the only time like shrooms have turned out kind of bad, kind of good for me, I guess. Everything else has just been fun.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, no, with me generally it's fun, but I've done Wachuma quite a lot, which is like a cactus. And then it's kind of like the whole, peace pipe peyote thing, but it's like you drink it. It's the same additive, but it's not. It's not peyote. It's mescaline. It's essentially mescaline.
How do you get hold of that?
I know some people who know some people who grow some people or grow some things.
Cool. That does seem like a Joburg thing, to be completely honest with you. Like all my Joburg friends are like psychonauts. Like whenever I do DMT in Joburg, like it's always like, like I've done it in Durban as well, but like. Like my friends in Joburg, like I've got some people who grow some things. So
yeah, exactly. So there's them, and then I've also like done ayahuasca and that as well, and then also DMT.
How is that? That seems fucking hectic,
bro. Oh yeah, the fuck. Jesus.
Like I don't want that. Nothing anyone has ever told me about ayahuasca sounds like something I want to do.
Well, my story is not going to make you want to do it at all. It makes me not want to do it again. But I'm going to do it again because I've got more to figure out. But it's just like, I mean, my mate and I, we went to Peru to do it and everything. We went proper. And we went to Peru and then we did the whole thing. And the problem was like you're supposed to have like this hectic diet and like it's plant-based only for like 2 weeks leading up to it. And then we were in Lima and then we had to fly to Cusco, which is like in the mountains or whatever. And we got to the airport and it was like, I hadn't eaten and I was like, it's fine. I've got to do this diet, it's whatever. So there was Dunkin' Donuts, like just sitting like for waiting. And I hadn't drank coffee either. And I was like, a couple of donuts and some coffee is fine. It's fine. The day before
that's
we were going to
carbs and sugar and just caffeine and everything.
And then I ate it and my stomach was like, ooh, didn't like it. And I was like, no, fine. And then we got to the place late because we missed it because our flight got delayed. And then you have to go to the offices first and they make you drink this like volcanic infused salty water. But you drink 6 cups of it and just go like down the fucking thing. And then it makes you shit your guts out. Literally, you go, there's a whole stall of toilets outside.
This is what I've heard. Yeah.
No. This is just the fucking water. So you do this so it clears your system. So you've got no cuck left in you for the next night. So then when you take the ayahuasca, you don't shit yourself in ceremony. But because myself and my friend were late, we didn't have the fucking volcanic water. So I'm full of fucking coffee and Dunkin' Donuts and I go into the ceremony and then I drink the ayahuasca and then I fucking start like wanting to vomit and then I fucking vomit and then there's vomit coming out of here, or there's Dunkin' Donuts coming out of here and then a little bit of coffee came out the back. So then I have to like fucking wave my hand and then this little tiny 4-foot fucking Incan woman named Volka comes and grabs me and puts me over her shoulder and she's like dragging me towards the thing because my feet were like on the floor like this just being dragged because I couldn't walk. And then she's like, she says to me, you must breathe. And I'm like, I've been breathing for 30 something years. I know how to breathe. I know what I'm doing. And she's like, but you're not breathing. I'm like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Okay. And then she drags me out, puts me on the toilet, and then has to listen to me cuck my fucking guts out for the rest of the evening. So that was night 1, and I did it twice. But anyway, it was worth it.
It's one way for them to make a living. Sheesh. Dealing with like tourists who are coming and like.
I loved her, man.
Yeah.
She was the best. Afterwards, I gave her the massive hug. I'm like, thank you for looking after me. She's like, I love you. You're amazing. I'm like, you're amazing. But it was worth it, man. It was so worth it. But I can't recommend it highly enough.
But why was it worth it?
Not just what I got out of it, man. Just like all the other.
What did you get out of it then?
So it's like you go into. It's like the whole meditative practice of like you getting into, you can kind of get behind your thoughts. There's all that. I mean, I remember I was listening to your podcast with Laz and you were talking about like suffering from a little bit of anxiety and like you were talking about like, that type of thing. And I get that as well, man. I've got issues with that and I've struggled with it. And then it's like, it's this thing, like kind of this thing in my mind, which is constantly there. You know what I mean? And it's like always telling me these things that just like if I'm like, best example is I'm about to go on stage and I've written a cool set and I'm so pumped about it and I've got like 5-6 new jokes and I want to go do it and then I'm in a good space and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And then this thing in the back of my head says, no, you're not. No, you suck. You're going to fuck up. It's going to be shit. Why are you even trying?
Of course, but everyone has that though. Like, well, not everyone. I think some people have those affirmation things. I mean, I know some comedians use affirmations. I know some very good comedians in South Africa who before a show are telling themselves, I am a great comedian. I can do this. Because if they're not doing that, they're going to be shit, like they've got those same fears. And then you've also got other people who are just like these confidence machines. But I feel like they're also just lying to everyone, like themselves and us. But maybe I'm just projecting there because I want to have that confidence. But I'm with you. I feel you. Like going on stage, like can be like this super anxiety inducing experience, but it's also, it's about what you're trying to do it for, I guess. Like when there's a lot on the line, when you're like, that's the thing, I guess it's your headspace. Like when you're getting on stage and you know that you're going to kill and like you're going to have a good time and the jokes are good and everything like that, you've had a good day, you're in a good headspace, that's not there. But when like you know, you've been dealing with personal issues, or you don't know the audience necessarily, or it's a new group of comedians that you're working with, and like you want to impress them and stuff like that. That's where you start getting in your head, because you're like, it's not even about doing the comedy anymore. It's not about doing the jokes. It's about impressing people. It's about,
100%.
you know, not fucking up. And that's I think the issue is where you start worrying about fucking up is when you start getting your head about it. When
100%.
you just like, what are the chances of you fucking up? Pretty small, but also pretty big at times, depending. But like, even if you fuck up, it's how you deal with it. So fucking up is never really that big an issue. And even dying on stage isn't that big a fucking issue. Like one of the coolest things is listening to big comedians on podcasts. Like, it's why like I love podcasts so much, is hearing like famous people talk about how much they've sucked out. You know, they die. Jerry Seinfeld can go on stage and still like not get a laugh, you know, like still have jokes die. Like it's, I love that, because it is just a part of the experience, and every gig is going to be different. But don't fucking die at your like, you know, your 20 minutes. Like, don't die in your headlining slots. Don't try your new material there, I guess, depending on where you're at in your career and stuff. Do your own thing. But yeah, like if you're being paid like, you know, a good fee to do a solid set, then practice that shit hard. Don't come with new material. Just go with the thing that you know works and cool. But if you're doing a 5-minute set at, you know, Kitchener's or here at the Winston or whatever, try different stuff. Like, it's okay. You can fail. You're going to fail. And that's something I've learned to definitely deal with over time, is just that you are going to fail. Like, it's 100%. Inevitable, and it's part 100%. Of the process.
100%. Yeah, exactly. It's the whole failure thing is like, it's sometimes when you do, it's not on the line, or not everything is that important, and you've built it up yourself, or personally I built it up myself, then it's when I start believing those things. So I start believing all the negative bullshit, and then I can psych myself out even though I'm in a good space. And what the meditation and kind of the ayahuasca does is it takes you go through it, but it takes you behind it. And it takes you so far behind that it takes you to the very genesis of that, of why you feel that, of all the shit. So it could be the science teacher who told you were never good enough. It could have been that time that your mom left you at the shops by mistake. It could have been the time that fucking, you know what I mean? Like, you got locked in your room because you were being naughty. But it takes it back to that genesis. And then you feel all the emotion, all the anxiety, everything that you did as a child. And then you get your chance as an adult from like an outside observer's perspective, to give yourself self-love and appreciation, and be like, fuck, boo, it's okay. You're a kid. You're doing the best you can. You were trying, and this thing was serving you. This anxiety was serving you in life so well, all up until this point. But you're an adult now, and you can look after yourself. And let's go forward and not take this with us. So, and then after that, it's just like, boom, and you'll cry, or you'll vomit, or you'll fucking, in my case, shit yourself. And then you feel so much fucking better. It's gone. It's like fixed. It's like a bubble that's been popped in your psyche. It's cool. It's like 10 years of therapy in one night.
That's fair. Like, I get that. Although for me, like, I guess I've worked through a lot of that stuff anyway. And for me, it's more just about like, not necessarily redressing the past. Like, I think that can, like, that can develop, you can become like, or you can have arrested development because of that, because you're continually trying to like overcome this past, instead of just going, 100%. Fuck it, whatever. I was that person. I've been that person. I've done these things.
100%.
I can choose from here on out who I get to be. Every single day, every single choice, like every single second, you're making choices. 100%. And you decide whether or not who you're going to be, not necessarily who you were. And yes, other people are going to still remember who you were, and you're still going to remember shitty things that you've done. Yeah. And you like, but like, I just look at criminals, and I look at like, people who have been reformed, and people who have changed their lives around. Like, a lot of people have done that, and it's amazing. And I think that's cool. And I think everyone's capable of that 100%. On any scale, you know, essentially. But it's about making choices. And of course, there's value in looking at your past and going, this is why I made those choices, and this is why I might make choices in the future. And if I don't want to do that, I need to address this. But for me, it is more just about, at the moment, my biggest thing is just trying to continually make choices that align with who I want to be.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
That's it. That's you've literally, you don't need ayahuasca, bro. You're fine. You're good. That's it. Bro, you like, that's the whole reason people do it. Whole reason to understand is just that, like, it's like to look at the past, the people who can't let their past go, like, you know, fucking Muggins, who was one. And then like, then the people who can't let their past go, and then be like, oh, I don't need this anymore. I took a longer route to what you just perfectly articulated. It's just like, I don't need this shit anymore. No one's the same fucking person that they were 10 years ago. No one's the same person that they were fucking 5 years ago. Everyone has the power to change. But it's like you said, it's a conscious choice every morning. And you wake up and you say, okay, cool, I'm going to do this. And you make one good decision. And then you make another good decision. And then when shit, because life is, no, I'm not saying life is shit, but then there are variables in life which will be thrown at you, like fucking things we can't explain, things we didn't know, COVID, parents, fucking getting sick, whatever it is. But it's like, but then when you are making the right decisions and you're cultivating this kind of like, cultivating this good pattern, then those things don't matter as much anymore. It's like, oh, well, there's still good shit. There's still good. I can still do these things. I can still, you know what I mean? I'm still breathing, et cetera, et cetera. I think it gives you a perspective, a good perspective.
Yeah, no, I know you're not necessarily the biggest fan of like philosophy and stuff, because like, or you don't like comedians being philosophers necessarily, because I listened to one of your things, but I think, dude, like for me, this like COVID thing has been, like I've dove deep back into like philosophy. Like I listened to this podcast called Philosophize This, and then also Stoicism and even Zen philosophy have just been like I don't believe all of it. I don't agree with all of it, but I love just the way people think, like in terms of Stoicism, in terms of Zen philosophy, and just trying to like not necessarily be rational about everything, and just like accepting that the world is this crazy, crazy, crazy place, and it's absurd, and you have to just accept it and appreciate it and live in the fucking moment, you know. 100%. Like that is 100%. Like that is the one thing COVID I think has really, really done for me, is as much as I've spent most of it in my flat alone, you know, like it's still one of those things of like, you know, live deliberately, live with purpose. And some days I'm going to be depressed and fucking want to sleep all day and play games and do whatever, and that's cool. That's okay. Like as long as my life's not completely falling apart, like you can have those days, but at the same time, it is just about like constantly wanting to just be a good person, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's like, I mean, I can't remember which podcast it was that I said I wasn't a big fan of comedians being philosophers, because I also spout my own philosophy bullshit as well.
It was two podcasts ago, I think.
Who was I talking to? Probably Vui.
It was an American dude.
Oh,
Chase, I think, or something.
Oh yeah, Casey McLean, yeah.
Casey, yeah, that was a good chat.
Like, it was very cool. It was nice. It was very cool to have his insights about what's going on in the States or whatever. Also, the thing is that like,
I liked his perspective a lot.
Yeah. No, he's very, very cool chat. He made me actually think about a lot of things while I was talking, because that's also one of the problems that I have, like, or one of my not issues, but the thing is something that I try and be conscious of, is that I will often say things going off in one angle, and then I kind of have to change it halfway through. But the thing is, at least I'm willing to change it, because I'm just like, someone will say something, I'm like, oh yeah, no, for sure. I completely admit that sometimes I'm so often completely wrong. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be proved wrong, because maybe then I'm learning something. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I'm just being an asshole.
That's, dude, like, I think we both share like that philosophy, like, and especially for me now in this point in my life, I'm really, weirdly enough, like, because of like the whole, like, you know, learning about Zen stuff and that, and it's something I dismissed so much, like when I was younger, and like, I still think a lot of it's like obviously wanky, like but that's the thing, every single thing out there has this wanky, shitty element, and also probably has some sort of truth and like goodness within it. It's like, whether it's Christianity to atheism, like 100%. You know, there's always the shitty people involved in it, and there's always the people taking things too far, and then there's the other ones who have some truths that they can share within those, you know, frameworks. So I've been learning to appreciate that also. Everyone has their own truth essentially, and you got to connect with that, like, or not, you know, you can like not vibe with other people's vibes. That's totally fine.
But, for sure. but it takes like a lot of self-awareness, in my opinion, to actually realize when you're not vibing with someone and be like, okay, cool, you can like go over there now, or not like just, but like, you know, like, I think people are so worried about being a mean person and like being terrible or whatever, but sometimes just people don't gel with you. Like, they don't get, sometimes people are wanky, like you know what I mean? It's just like, you talk about Christianity, for example, there are elements that are wanky. I mean, and there are elements that are good. Let's say like 10 Commandments, pretty good. Speaking in tongues, fucking wanky. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like you know what I mean? There's like spirituality.
Actually,
meditation.
I think speaking in tongues is closer to hallucinations than you might think.
Maybe.
Like I think they're experiencing real shit. I don't think they're faking that. I think they think that they are speaking in tongues and they are hallucinating that. Because I was in church when I was like a teenager, and because I was like an atheist, and then I had like a midlife crisis at the age of 16, and I found God.
You're a fucking overachiever, bro. It's starting early.
Dude, it was crazy, dude. Like as a teenager, I was very like just didn't fit in with the world at all. But then I found God because I went to church, and I had this overwhelming, like I literally felt the power of God, and it's something I can only describe as since I've done ecstasy. Like I've had pills since, and I'm like, oh, that's the same fucking feeling. 100%. And like it's hypnotism. It's mass hallucinations. I think it's people willfully really know how to describe it, but that's the thing. I don't think that when people talk about their experiences in the church, they're lying. I think they are experiencing those things. I think they are feeling a lot of these things because I felt it. I just recognize that it's not necessarily real, and I get to know that it's not necessarily real because I understand things through the power of drugs. You know that your consciousness is going to be different, and like different situations that you're in provide you with different spaces in your mind, I guess. So sure. I think going to church can provide a lot for people, but it's also obviously there's so many issues with it as well. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, look, I was in Catholicism, and look, we all know the problems with that. So like, that's, you know what I mean? I mean, get finger blasted by one priest and it changes your whole perspective on things. No, I'm joking. My priest was actually very nice, boo. It was very nice. It was the babysitter who was the bastard. But it's like, it's don't ever let. I mean, why would you ever let your fucking kids have a male babysitter? I just don't understand it, especially in the UK. But anyway, I digress. I'm fine with it.
Okay, I see why you took ayahuasca. I get it.
Yeah, there's issues, bro. But it's fine. I'm fine. I'm so fine. I'm fine. But yeah, dude, it's like, what was I saying? Yeah, like the church, like, you know what the thing is? Like, it's interesting that you say that because you are looking at it from the other side of the lens. You're looking at it I'm looking at it through a filter. You're not wearing the rose tinted glasses because you've kind of like taken them off by going into the church and like experiencing that. It's very similar. Yeah. It's similar if someone saw me with my friends doing our ayahuasca ceremonies, lying on the mat, like crying and convulsing and vomiting, they'd be like, these people are fucking weird. Why they're doing that? They're faking it. They're just drinking a
Exactly.
So it's an outside perspective that I don't actually understand. So I can going back to the point of me possibly being proved wrong. I guess all I have to say is that I don't actually know really at the end of the day what it's like because I've never experienced it.
Yeah, I mean, I think church also unfortunately like is built on a lot of just lies and just a lot of fakeness as well. Like I think that's the thing I hate the most about the church is the having to live up to ideals that nobody's living up to, really. You know, like, but some churches actually offer a lot of humanity and they offer a lot of compassion and people are understanding, and it's more like, you know, a therapy group than it is this thing of like indoctrination. And that's also, I guess, the issue is like, everything is so specific, like even like fucking like cults are, you know, all like unique in their own way, and like each church is different in its own way and each religion's different in its own way, and like so everyone is like, you can say like Christianity is this, but every Christian has a different understanding of what they mean by Christianity, you know.
For sure.
I don't know if it's the same for Islam, but like I definitely know for Christianity, just because of how many different sects there are, like, and within sects, like, you know, like two Catholics can believe completely different things and go to the exact same church, you know, and they can stand on like very different ends of like the issues. So yeah, it's weird. Like we've got all these labels for what people believe, but it's not really this monolithic thing.
No, 100%. There's so many. I mean, look at, you know, just at how many different religions there are, and then you go deep dive how many different forms of Christianity there are, and then how many people are different in a church, single church, you know, who follow the same faith. So, I think the biggest problem, probably the biggest problem with religion is the human element. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, because like we will fuck up anything. You know what I mean? Oh, take a good idea, and then we have a tendency to. I think where the ego gets into play and whatever. I mean, I don't want to sound super
power negative. And control.
Yeah, that's also a good point. That is a good point.
Like I think it's typically, I think a lot of religion is power and control. I think I think religion essentially is power control and early science. Like, you know, it wasn't actual science. It was people's ideas of how the universe worked. And they just utilized that for their politics at the time. So you look at the rules in the Bible, a lot of them are just either good cleanliness tips or, you know, good like political tips for them within their sphere. You know, it worked for what the politicians at the time, the leaders at the time, wanted, you know, the population to do. So they would be like, yo, the gods said that this is what you must do. And that's how they kept order. So it is kind of weird that people have kept a lot of that still, you know, because yeah, like a lot of other things have evolved quite a lot, but also, I mean, Christianity's evolved a lot. They've got Christmas trees and like all of that. And like, so everything, I don't know, everything's just so convoluted and ideas just continually shift and change and will never be this one static thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, is just to understand how I mean, it's like an evolution. It's our own growth. You know what I mean? I think that's why there is this drive in us to now, maybe it is like you said, like you have some people on your podcast who are specifically wanting to do whatever they're doing so they can become a billionaire, and then that's their drive. But that's kind of become very, I don't know, that's kind of become, I feel like that idea kind of has corrupted people. Maybe that's what people who aren't rich say. But like, it's like, I feel that it's like doing the idea of doing something just for the idea of money. I'm like, fuck, I just like, I'm lucky enough to do a job.
I get it as a measurable result of success. Like if you've if you've got $1 billion, like, and like, it's also, you got to remember, like, there's just different, like, depending on where you come from and what your circumstances are growing up as well, how much money you have, how much access to wealth you've had, you might have different goals. You know, if you grow up middle class, you might not want to be a billionaire as much. If you grow up lower class, you might be like more aspirational to like excel to that degree, potentially. Like different people also, you know, who are poorer also. Like I grew up, you know, lower class, and I'm not the most ambitious person when it comes to money at all, like to a fault, but it's just not the thing that drives me at all. Like it never has been, and it's never going to be. But it is a thing that we do need.
So, for sure.
But I get it as a metric for success. I get it for some people. They go, if I've got $1 billion in the bank, that means that I killed it at this life thing. Like that's the high score. Like that is, you know, you're on the board there. Like the whole world knows that like you succeeded. So if
I love that. So funny.
That's your goals.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's just like fucking the Forbes top 100 fucking wealthiest person is actually like putting your initials in on the Pac-Man fucking 1970s arcade game, dude. That's essentially what it is. That's
exactly. I mean, obviously the realities of that are shitty. Like you got to fuck over a lot of people. And like, I did bring it up on the podcast. I was like, you know, you can't be an ethical billionaire. And we discussed it a little bit. But that's what's cool is like, I especially these days I've gotten to a point where I don't necessarily feel like I have to agree with people. Like it depends on the conversation. It depends on what whack shit people say as to like whether or not I'm still gonna talk to you afterwards. But like, you know, live your life, like do your thing. But like I might not fuck with you afterwards. But at the same time, like, I can disagree with people like in some regards. I think if he did become a billionaire, we wouldn't be friends anymore. But we'll see how it goes. He's allowed to want to be a billionaire.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is, I don't judge people for their ideals and what drives them as well. But I think I agree with you. Well, I'm on the same page as you. Is that I do things. I'd much rather do things because I love them. You know what I mean? It's just like I do. Yeah. I know that's where my joy comes from. It's just like COVID has taught me that as well, because it's like fucking not having comedy and not having an outlet. I've been a grumpy cunt around the house every now and again. You know what I mean? Yeah, just sometimes. And then like the podcast, I'm like, oh, thank God I get to. Like even like when I was speaking to Vui, like a couple of weeks ago, I was just like, oh, a comedian. Thank goodness. Do you know what I mean? Someone, I wanted to like grab him, and I'm like, yes, thank God I can like bullshit with someone. You know what I mean? Like it was just a nice outlet. But I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a job that allows me to do things like comedy in the podcast and go hiking and take psychedelics and that type of shit. And you know, then it's like. I'm like, I don't need much else, but I can pursue and get my fulfillment in doing the things that I love and getting better at those things. It's just like, it's all kind of evolves and just like is a circle. And like, am I being a better human? Am I being a better human for the world? Am I being a better human for my son, for family, etc., etc. You know, that type of shit.
Yeah, you got a kid on the way in like what, 4 days, 5 days?
Monday, bro. Monday.
It's so weird. It's like the day before my girlfriend and my mom's birthday because they're
really?
born on the same day. Yeah,
Hectic.
like
Yeah.
not the same year, thankfully. But it's, yeah,
that would be weird, dude. That would be weird. Yeah, hectic, dude. Yeah. So yeah, I'm so excited. It's been so weird though because our doctor.
That journey must have been crazy because I heard the story and it's so funny. Like this week we dealt with like a pregnancy like scare, and I was just like, oh, like. I thought a lot of thoughts, like, you know, and I'm grateful that like I'm not in your position. Let's just say that.
Hey man, I was like that at the beginning. But the thing is, like the most powerful thing you can do is accept. You know what I mean? And then,
yeah,
like,
that's the thing. It's a nut up moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the thing is also, I was just like, I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm like, well done. You know what I mean? I'm like, put my little teeth.
Hey, they actually work.
I did it. Too fucking well, boo. That's the problem. Too fucking well. Fucking
yeah. That's the thing. I'd just be surprised because I smoke so much weed that like I don't think they like can get there. I just don't think they have it in them. Like there aren't any ambitious sperm in me, bro. Like sperm like was a potential scare, but then I was thinking, bro. Like I was like I was like going into the whole thing of like, well, what would the future be? And like it didn't seem that bad, and so like I felt like. You know what? I'm an adult now. Like I'm like, you know, because it wasn't this like horrifying, like, oh God, life's over thing. It was like okay, well, we'll deal with it. Like if it is like a thing, like, you know, it was like, and just thinking of all the possibilities of how it could be. But for you now, it's a reality. Like for me, it was just like an afternoon of like, oh, I wonder what could happen. And for you, you're like, shit, this is happening.
Yeah,
like, this is
real. You had an afternoon of mild terror. And then I had an afternoon of mild terror, then a week, and then a month of it. And then I'm like, there's nothing I can do. This is happening. And then I just like, okay, put your big boy panties on and then let's go. Because then it was just like, it was all these other things as well. It was just, okay, then COVID hit. And then it was just like, she didn't have, like, you know, like struggle with her job. And then like there's freaking medical aid thing. And then I'm like, my like salary got cut. And then I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And then you like, it's weird because it made me realize that when life throws these things at you or whatever, and you have to do something, you have no choice. You can always do it. You always fucking come out there. And then I'm like, oh, then if I start treating things that I want to happen, as in I have to, like I have no choice, I will do this, then I'll be able to do it. And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm like a lot stronger and more capable and fucking adult than I actually thought I was. I'm like, I'm a full adult. I thought I was like still half an adult. I'm full adult now. So I'm like, okay, cool. I still act like a kid, but in the, you know what I mean? And like the structure and everything, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's not that bad. It's fucking, everything else is like gravy. It's fucking easy. You know what I mean? It's like, pressure builds diamonds, brother. That's what they say in Kimberley. So yeah,
I've literally got a diamond tattooed on my arm with the lotus because of both those things essentially being that beauty through perseverance is the whole thing there. Like I agree with you. Like pressure, time, everything good. Like, you know, lotuses grow through the mud and bloom into these beautiful things. And diamonds are old dinosaurs that have been compressed.
Exactly.
And then marketing execs told you that they were the perfect gift for getting married.
Yeah, De Beers, boo. De Beers came up with that slogan.
Yeah. No, I love like how much of modern tradition is literally just marketing. Like the last like 100 years of like marketing has influenced culture so much, and it continually does. And people think like their family traditions are these like long held things. Meanwhile, it was just came up with by some ad exec on cocaine in 1920. Like, it's just like, I love that about life. Like, I hate it, you know, like it's obviously terrible and whatever. But I just love like, like the way things work, I guess. Like,
dude, that's so hilarious, man. That's so true. You can just imagine the executives who are like doing the thing for Coca-Cola. They're like,
literally.
Okay. So he's got a red suit and a big bushy beard. I'm telling you. Okay. And what else? Okay, cool. He rides around.
How else can you deliver them all in one night?
He's on cocaine. That's how he did it.
Well, that was actually that's how they sold Coke. They were like, yo, like Santa needs this to get around in one night. Here's Coca-Cola. Bam, done. Like, no, that wasn't the actual ads, but like, I love that Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it. Like, I love that. I love that heroin used to be sold as cough drops.
It was made by Bayer. It was made by
Yeah.
fucking Bayer. The same people who are fucking responsible for Monsanto. So like they weren't ever
And
really
make
good people to be good
Doom
with.
and everything as well. Yeah, not the
Make
game.
Doom.
but-
Yeah. Well, actually, and they also made Zyklon fucking A and Zyklon B, which was the mustard gas, which fucking
Oh snap!
did all the Jews in. So they're not really a good company. Hugo Boss designed the Nazi outfits. The Nazi.
Yeah, then you also, you know, like Puma and what was it? Is it Reebok or Adidas?
Adidas,
Yeah. Oh, the brothers. Yeah, history's fun.
No,
Like, it's just.
Speaking of, by going back to podcasts, have you seen the History Hyenas?
No, I listen to like revisionist history and hardcore history.
History by
Have you heard Dan
Dan
Harlan's? Yeah, hardcore history is so good. But what was the one you were talking about?
It's called History Hyenas, but it's two comedians who do it, and it's two New York comedians. I'm like, so like if I'd say like with regards to the podcast I listen to, it goes from comedy and self like spirituality, that type of thing, and then if anywhere that intermingles. But the thing is, I find out about podcasts from other podcasts. You know what I mean? I listen to.
Although, bro, like, have you noticed like the ads for podcasts just getting crazier and crazier? Like, I was listening to, I think like Stuff You Should Know, and they had this like gun like podcast like come on, and it was like, this podcast is your everyday carry, and like just like I was like, is this parody? Is this a joke? Like, is this a fucking joke? And it wasn't a joke. It's a real podcast, and like, but like just the copywriting on it, like, and that's the thing, the copywriting on all these podcasting ads is hilarious. It's like, you know, we're two black girls who are, you know, like talking about intersectionality and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, just the most generic, like stereotyped thing for every demographic out there. There's now a podcast that like speaks to your specific interest with a host who's exactly like you. And it's interesting to see how like that, like, I don't know, it's cool, like people have their things, but it is interesting when you see like these massive podcasting networks busy, producing all these different things that like, they don't necessarily care. They're just trying to like play to people's identities, I guess.
This is the thing. It's just like the reason that I love podcasts, and from what I've listened to from yours and from what you've been saying tonight as well, it's just like, it's the authenticity that fucking drags you in. It's like, I like this
100%.
person. You know what I mean? And it's just them being like, oh, well, I am the perfect person for you, and then let me prove it to you. And I'm like, go suck a dick, boo. I don't care. Like, I'm like, you don't interest me if you're trying to prove to me how awesome you are. Just be awesome, and then I'll like you. And if I don't like you, then I won't listen to you. There are millions of there were 600,000 fucking podcasts just in America. There'll be something that I like. You know what I mean? There'll be someone, and there'll also be people who will listen to your stuff. It's just like, the more authentic, the more yourself you are, I am, the more I get on there. And the more I actually, also the more I find that if I pad the podcast and I don't actually like do what you do essentially as well, it's just like find cool, interesting people to like speak to. If I'm not learning, then my listeners aren't. So if it's like someone,
that's 100%.
If someone's agreeing with me all the time, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like what Bill Burr says. It's like you go to imright.com, you know what I mean, and getting all the answers that I want to hear already. It's just like I want someone to be like, no, but have you thought about this?
The thing I love about comedy is how much I disagree with other fucking comedians.
Yeah,
like, I hate them in South Africa. Like, other comedians are so sensitive, like, about, like, a lot of things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, I love that we can disagree on a lot of things. And I love, like, Bill Burr especially. Like, I fucking disagree with so much that he says. And I love so much that he says. Like, you know, it's like 50-50. Like, Paper Tiger, like, I fucking found myself going, fuck you, half the time, and then going, yeah, champ, like the other half, you know? It's like,
sure.
And I also just think people need to both, like, on all sides of the spectrum, need to, like, just learn to fucking appreciate the other side a little bit more.
For sure.
Like, you know, like, just appreciate, like, when people are saying things you don't necessarily agree with. Of course, people can say completely whack, like, out of line shit that, like, you can go like, yeah, no, that's offensive and I'm not cool with that. And you don't have to fuck with it. But then at the same time, like, yeah, like if someone says something risque, you don't necessarily have to go, fuck you, you know, you're wrong. You can just go, what was he actually trying to say there? So I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in comedy at the moment that's very interesting, I guess. Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna flat out and say that comics are better people than most, but we are, so it's fine. But
I
it's
disagree 100% there, dude. Like, I think comedians are like the worst people on earth next to like actors. Like, I think it goes like actors, comedians, musicians. I don't know who I hate more, musicians or comedians.
Okay,
like,
well, wait. I need your logic, though. I need your logic. I need the reasoning.
We're all just tragic, egotistical, sad, fucking attention-seeking nobodies who just constantly want people like to hug us. Like, it's just I don't necessarily enjoy hanging out with comedians a lot of the time because it's always just this attention-seeking game. Like, I love hanging out with comedians like at lunch. You know, like, if that makes sense. Going and grabbing like a bunny chow together.
Dude, I do get it. I understand that completely, and I'm like so. The reason I agree with you is because if I'm at the comedy club or I'm at like a place or whatever on a Tuesday night at Kitcheners or like sitting, at the table at the hang afterwards. As soon as I feel like this person isn't on, or trying to be on, or trying to be funny, and I'm having a proper, like, normal conversation, whether it's just wherever it goes, it can be about life, about their love, about their girlfriend, about their mom, about what's going on in their life, their ambitions.
Those are the rad nuts.
Then I'm like, this person I can fuck with. Because this person is like, he's not like, and I feel like those are the better comedians because they're good at what they do, because they're looking for other things. They're not just like...
They typically are. Like, the quiet ones are, like, I find, like, I don't see like guys like Dylan Oliphant, essentially. Like, he's not, trying to get all the space after a gig. He's on stage, he kills, and then you'll talk to him after the show, but he's not going to be the one trying to like dominate the conversation. Whereas like younger comedians, and I guess people who feel like they've got more to prove, are often just trying to like constantly tell jokes. And like I do enjoy cracking jokes with comedians, obviously. Like, what are the most fucking fun experiences is that thing of being after a show just with people who you connect with and just like talking shit about life and cracking jokes and having fun. But there is an element to it. There is just a facade and a fakeness within the entertainment industry that I don't vibe with. And like, 100%. So that's why, like I say, like I hate like actors and comedians, musicians, when most of my friends are actors, comedians, musicians, photographers. Like literally all my friends are artists,
Wow.
Like, and I love them dearly, but like I also have a lot of personal issues with them, and it's also because of my ego and because of my want for things and my like insecurities, I guess. So it's a lot.
It's a nice pool of narcissism by the sound of things. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's what comedians are. It's a nice fucking, like, you swim in the deep end of narcissism and you get fucking spit all over you because people are talking to you really close in the face, especially after they've drunk too much. But that's just me, my experience, because I'm not a drinker. So I'm just like, I go there and then like, but it's like a friend of mine, Farhan. He's like, he doesn't drink, and he's also like kind of like, he's very set in his ways, but in a very
Farhan East.
Yeah, Farhan East. Yeah.
Okay.
I love Farhan. He's been on the pod before, and he's just so personable. And he's so knowledgeable, and he's so like.
I'm not sure if I've met him, but I have like seen his vibe.
Yeah, he's a very, very cool guy, and he's also into like, he does TM, he does like the whole spirituality thing, and he's so we've got like a lot in common. And then I remember the one time after I was at Marvel Comedy Club, and then afterwards everyone else was going.
I love Marvel.
Yeah, everyone else was going to the bar around the corner, and then Farhan was like, I was just sitting
the pizza spot there.
Exactly, yeah. So then he was just like chatting, and everyone was going, and they were kind of like drinking whatever, and I was like not really feeling it, and everyone was kind of getting a little bit drunk, and nothing because there's anything wrong with them. It's just like people who are drunk and you're sober, they're abhorrent to be around. You know what I mean? It's just not nice. So, and then he's
why I don't not drink. I'd rather be drunk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've got nothing against it, but then like he's like, I'm gonna go, and I'm like, oh, you can do that. I forgot.
Yes.
I can leave if I want to. And be like, hey, cheers, guys. I'm out. You know what I mean? This isn't my vibe. I had the vibe. We had the fun. I've chilled with you guys for the last three and a half hours. Actually, we chatted outside. I've got my fucking my heroin injection of like fun times at the comedy fucking venue, and then
but I think
I'm out.
But I also think like when you're like new in the game, or you might feel insecure about your place in it, you want to be around.
That's
you don't
exactly
think you can
was.
leave a gig.
That's exactly
like
what it was.
Yeah. Whereas shit, like when I was running the Winston, eventually just got to a point where I like everyone stayed and had a good time, and I was like, cool, I'm going home. Like I'm good. Like I don't like, I don't need to be here. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not feeling it.
Exactly.
And I think, yeah, just coming to terms with that with yourself. And it does suck that other people can, and I mean, I've also have been a bit antagonistic at times, I guess, but other people can also just take your decisions and your choices, you know, the wrong way sometimes. Like you can do stuff for your own peace and like do something like that, you know, leave a party early. And other people could be like, oh, that guy's like such like, you know, a pussy, never sticks around afterwards. But at the same time, who fucking cares about people who are going to say that about you? But like if that's how they're going to feel, then you don't need them. You'd like, why stick around to please them? Like why? Because they were going to be shitty anyway.
But then that also speaks to then that also actually more speaks to their insecurities about themselves, because the thing is like maybe they actually do want to leave and they're like, oh fuck, I can't believe that guy can do that. I'm not like, you know, it's like a lot of like the things, the way that people react to me, I found like now is not often because of something that I've did. It's very rarely that I'm not saying I'm fucking perfect, but like it's not that often that I do something that warrants a huge like massive blowout or someone like huge like vicious or vitriol or whatever. It's like I don't often warrant that. And I was like, oh, there's something going on with them. You know what I mean? There's something going on with their lives. And then,
oh, definitely.
If you can if you can dig behind that, and then you're okay, and then you can kind of like listen and like, what is this person actually? Oh, this person isn't being heard. I'm not listening to them. I'm walking away. I don't want to pay attention to it. And then they're doing it again and again to get my attention. And eventually I sit down and listen, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I can do that. That's fine. No problem. And then everything kind of works out. But it's like, I think when egos and like insecurities get in the way, it's just like this. And then it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just like butting heads instead of opening hands and holding hands. I don't know. That was a super faggy thing. Like gay, like, you know what I mean? Like skipping, whatever, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like got no problem with holding hands with men personally.
I know, for sure.
But yeah, like it's... I don't know, like because I've had some issues in the Durban scene and stuff, and like I know I can be an antagonistic person, and like I'm quite vicious with my words. I think my biggest issue is like I don't think that people are actually gonna care what I say, and then I say something, and then like it hurts them, and then like I'm their mortal enemy. Then I always underestimate like how people are going to necessarily interpret things. And I have also acted and spoken and said and stuff out of, you know, hurt and pain and disappointment and just being frustrated with the way things have gone at times. But now I'm at a point where it's like, that is what it is. It happened. It went that way, and now you can learn from it, and going forward in whatever ventures you do, learn from the mistakes, learn from the things that didn't work. And you know, don't work with the personalities who don't gel with you, and, you know, go into spaces that you want to go into. You don't need, for me personally, one of the biggest things, but I've always kind of been this kind of person. I don't feel the need to do the things everyone else is doing. Yeah. I just don't. Like, I do sometimes, I do get caught up in it. I do definitely, like, especially with comedy, you know, you see like the paths that people are taking. But I also just look at like other people overseas and see how unique, like, and how the journey can be different. Like, it doesn't have to just be the, you know, you do the 5, you do the 10, you do the 20, you get the special, you're now, you know, touring the country, that sort of thing, you know, like you can, you know, do it differently. You can put on your own shows. You can, like, you don't need other people to like pluck you from obscurity and like manage you and stuff like that, you know, which I think is stuff like when you're starting out, you want the success in that way. You think like this is the path forward. But for me, I just look at so many different people around the world and how they've managed to make their own careers work without the industry, without necessarily, you know, eating shit all the time. Like, I look at someone like Bo Burnham, like that guy didn't do fucking open mics. Like, you know, he did theater shows. Like he put together half hours, he put together hours, and he did them. Like, he practiced them and he performed them. Like, that's fucking gangster.
It is.
Like, that is so cool.
It is.
Like, in comparison to like we're told, like, no, you've got to build things 5 minutes at a time. Like, you know, you've got to like come with a new joke here and there. Bro, no, you can have this high scale, highbrow idea. And like, obviously he tried new stuff in different shows and then eventually filmed, you know, the stuff that he thought was the best. Yeah. And, you know, he obviously would have failed along within that process. But yeah, I just like the idea of like the fact that he didn't go to a club to try a fucking joke. Like he did
sure.
it within like his performance. Like he went like, cool, here's an hour, here's 10 minutes of lights and sounds and craziness.
Yeah. There's so many ways you can do it, and then there's like so many. What's nice as well is that a lot of people are kind of leading the charge in with regards to especially the online space now, who are just like, no, fuck the system. You know what I mean? Like Andrew Schultz is a perfect example. He's just like, I am not going to.
Yeah, you really dig Andrew.
Yeah, I do. I have a lot. One thing is, I like his brands, dude. I like his like take on things. I've got like a big like, I don't know. The thing is, I never used to like it. I used to watch it and I was just like, fuck, I don't dig this dude. Like, I'm not a big fan. I do, but now I find myself bringing him up a lot because of I like the trajectory he's taken, and also it's just like it shows like I like how far he's come without giving a fuck. Do you know what I mean? I do like that. I like that idea of just like, and I like also his fucking hard in the paint attitude. I love the rants, and that's my type of thing. That's why I love Bill Burr. I love Andrew Schultz. I love guys who just like kind of like, you know, it's like fucking, you know, 5 Fingers of Fury on fucking Sway in the morning. You know what I mean? Those guys are doing those freestyles. It's just all off the top, and it's just like kind of like a thing. And then it's this event that is happening. And you completely.
Did you see Timmy's one?
Oh, it was so
like
good.
I don't know if you.
It was so good.
Like that.
It was like the best. So good.
It's like one of the best freestyles I've ever heard.
Bro, it was amazing. I was like, what? What?
Like I wear that pussy out like King Jaffe.
Yeah, like King Jaffe.
Yeah, in New York. Like, fuck.
That was so good,
Jesus,
dude.
That was just.
And then he was so at home, and he just starts dancing.
Yes.
Fucking.
Yeah. And I might fuck with it. Like, yeah, and then he does the little like, the hands up thing.
Yeah. I've watched it about 5 or 6 times.
Like, yeah. I literally like words to that style to it so much.
I understand it. I think I've watched it like 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5. I think I saw it because Tats and Kunze, he freaking posted it. I'm like, oh shit! And then I just watched it again and again, dude. It was amazing. So it's fucking big fan.
Yeah, no, there was like a period where I watched it every day. Like that, the Nasty C one was good. The AKA one was such a letdown. Yeah, but I mean, not necessarily because it's AKA, but like. Yeah. But it's been anyway. No, rap music's by white people.
Yeah. Dude, there's a podcast there, I'm telling you. It's like, you know what I really like? I like it when they say the N-word. Because you can't say the fucking word.
Well, yeah, I actually, weirdly enough, I used to have a joke where, when I was much younger, where like I would quote it. And then when I was in Joburg, I was like, can I say it here? And people were like, no. And I was like, fair fucking point. And then from that point forward, I never quoted it again. I always now avoid the word, because I've got a joke about how, the only people who really listen to hip hop, or like white middle class people, love listening to hip hop because they're the only ones who can relate to it. Like, I ain't saying she a gold digger because she ain't messing with no broke.
Yeah.
And then and I go into like whole things, and I just avoid the word the whole time, and like so that became But yeah, I'm grateful. I used to think like, I can quote it. It's part of the thing. And I'm so grateful that just ask the crowd. Just see if people vibe with what you're trying to do. And you can learn a lot. Because, I know you don't necessarily, you don't fuck with wokeness necessarily. You've got a bit of an anti-woke vibe. But I definitely vibe with not doing things that would really piss off a crowd for no good reason, if that makes sense. Just because you think you've got this right to say whatever you want, that you're going to ruin someone's night, essentially. I think we as comedians do have responsibilities. You can't just say what you want. You have to really consider it, and you have to really think about it, and you have to for me personally, that's a big thing. But I also push buttons, push boundaries, go past the things that you want to go past. But just know that other people might not like it. I found that out with the religious stuff, especially. Yes. And nowadays I don't even want to do religious jokes. But early in my career, I used to piss people off so much.
Really? Yeah, I do skirt that line a lot, and I mean, and it's interesting that you're saying that to me as well, because I mean, I don't try to not fuck with the wokeness, but it's it is a compulsion sometimes, and then that's the wrong reason to do it. It's just sometimes I do get a little bit of no, I'm going to try and say this thing, and then I'm going to see, and then if they get pissed off, fuck them, you know what I mean? But then actually that's wrong, you know what I mean? That's not why I like to do it originally. The reason I like to do it is because I'm just like, I want to see if I can make this topic, people laugh at this topic because I find it funny.
There you go.
Yeah, I want to make this concept funny to these people. I want to illustrate that this can be funny and we can get some levity in a situation which might be very dark. But if I'm just doing
depending on
like,
where your ego is at, you can like, for myself, I know where my ego's been in bad places. Like when I was like the atheist comic for a while, like it was based on wanting to just be this like idea of like the badass, like anti-God, like I don't give a fuck, like if I piss people off kind of thing. But like these days, it's more just like, I do give a fuck if I piss people off. And sometimes I want to piss people off, but I want it to be for good reasons. And I want it to be for things I really, 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 really care about and really like believe in, you know, like if I'm going to push a boundary, it has to be for a very good reason. And also it can't just be when I'm doing fucking 10 minutes, you know, like I find like if, you know, we're doing an hour, cool. Like I'll slide in 10 minutes that you might disagree with, that we might like really like push some fucking boundaries. But you came to an hour-long show of mine. You came because you wanted to hear that. But if you just came to a comedy show, if you just came to, you know, Melville, or you went to Kitchener's, or you went to, you know, the variety of comedy gigs out there for a night out to hear 10 different comedians do 10 minutes of jokes, the last thing you fucking want is like for someone to like, just go too far, I guess. Like,
yeah, for sure. And that's a problem that I have, is I tend to go too far. But it's like, it is something that I am more conscious of. And then also something that like Mojack said to me is like, he's like, you understand that writing edgy, you're making your life more difficult. Why are you so edgy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are made, because the thing is like, I mean, bombing is one thing. I mean, you know, and I know it's all part of the process, and it feels like shit. No one wants to eat a massive plate of
but bombing on purpose is pointless.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, but the thing is like bombing, but you're bombing, but then you're also being really fucking horrible. You're saying some really shitty things. And then it comes across as just you're mean. You're just a mean person. So not only are you bombing, sometimes when you're bombing, the crowd's like, oh, I really wish you could do well. There was that one little joke, and the crowd's really rooting for you to get back on, you know what I mean, on your feet. But if you're bombing and you're being an asshole and you're saying horrible things, they're like, this guy sucks. Well, he's a horrible person. Get him off. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's just because you feel that people aren't going to like you anyway. So you throw it, for me at least. Like, I know I used to do that. Like, I used to like really throw gigs away. Like, I haven't for such a long time, because like, it's just, but there was a period in comedy where it was just like, fuck you, I don't care. If you don't like this joke, that's your fucking problem. But it was also, that's just because I had attitude problems. I had issues with the world. I had insecurities and felt like people weren't going to like me anyway. So when they didn't like me, it was like, you see, fuck you. You don't like, I knew you weren't going to like these jokes. You don't get it, bro. You're not on my fucking wavelength. And like, it's just arrogance and like, and you blame the crowd. And it's like, it's just the silliest thing, because like and once again, but if you want to do that, then set up your own gigs and like do things like where you attract people who are into that and that sort of thing. But if you're going to go do it on another gig, like you can't make it about you, because it's not. Like, those gigs are not about you. You are just practicing. You are just a part of the night. But you can like I love like fucking Doug Stanhope. Like, he's got this one show that he does like in a bar, and it's just the most obscene, fucked up, crazy shit. He says some insane things that you could not do that at an open mic. Like, he talks about like a baby with like 47 vaginas or something. And like, it's, of course, the absurdity of that is why, you know, he can say it. Because of course that thing can never happen. It's just not a possibility, you know? So he's proving this point through that. But he's had to do a whole lot of work before that to get to this really crazy, really fucked up, really absurd joke. And you don't get to do that work, you know, in a 10-minute set. You don't get to get everyone on board. So you just got to play to the room. You got to play to what's actually happening. And if you do want to do the crazier like things, you've got to probably set up your own shows and like try and do that. But, or push towards that audience. And like, I don't know, there's ways to, like, if you want to do that, like, I think there is, especially online, there's audiences for it, you know, like, I think a lot of people have found fame through controversy, I guess. So it is a tactic, but personally, I specifically chose not to go that route like a long time ago. Like I was going down that route, and then I decided I actually don't want to be the controversial comedian. I don't want to be like
Jim Jeffries or like that type of vibe. It's not your thing.
I mean, modern Jim Jeffries. I mean, I've always liked Jim Jeffries, but like current Jim Jeffries was pretty like not that hectic.
Yeah. Well, then
he didn't
got his TV show. He was just like, I don't want to lose this. I'm making a lot of money. But then subsequently, he's not anymore. So, but it's like he's a lot. I think he also had a kid, and that kind of mellowed him out a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and I think as you just grow older, your perspective changed quite a bit. I mean, I know Anthony Jeselnik, like, you know, he's someone who used to like tell rape jokes and now won't, you know, like he's definitely changed. Like, but he's still, I love Anthony Jeselnik because he's about the joke, you know, and it's about pushing the boundaries and stuff like that. And, you know, he is an equal opportunity offender and stuff like that. And I get it. Some people aren't going to enjoy it, and that's cool. You don't have to. But I feel, like I love like someone like Anthony Jeselnik, but at the same time, he's grown. He's shown he himself, same as Jim Jeffries. You know, all these people see who they were, and like for myself as well, you see who you were when you're younger. You see why you was doing the things, why you were pushing those boundaries, why you were saying these absurd, fucked up things, and you go, maybe I wasn't actually being that honest with myself, with the crowd, with other people. Like maybe I was doing this for, you know, different reasons, and it changes. You know, like I think most comedians, like, I'll be honest, I've told a rape joke when I was early in my career. I think it's one of those things that maybe it's a white male thing as well, where you want to push the boundaries of like these things, you know, we have these entitlements or whatever, where it's like, I can say this, you know,
I can get away with this shit.
Or like, because it's so like fucked up, you know, I want to try, you know, I want to push against it and that. So I don't know. I think there's, like I say, I just don't necessarily want to push button. Like, I still fucking tell hectic jokes. Like, I think my comedy's very dark, like very, very dark, but like I present it with a bit of a cheery veneer, and
for sure.
Just talk more about philosophical stuff, I guess, than about how there is no God, although that probably still comes up a lot, weirdly enough. It's just not fuck you for believing in God. It's just more, it is what it is.
I guess. So but it seems like you've come to a more understanding perspective of everyone else in the world, which is a good thing, which is a good place to be. It's just a fucking human. Just to be like, oh, well, because even you said it earlier, like everyone's different, no one's the same. Some people do this, some people do that, even to Christians, you know, like in the same fucking church. It's like a good understanding of yourself allows you to be more understanding to other people, because it all fucking starts at home. You know what I mean? Like, people who don't love themselves fucking hate everyone else. People hurt people. Do you know what I mean? It's just like
100%, dude.
So, like, the more conscious you are about yourself and the way you are, like, you know, the better you know yourself, the more comfortable you are with yourself, and then you're less more likely you are to force your beliefs on someone else. Yeah,
my biggest issues are like always come from when I'm unhappy with myself, when I'm 100%. Unhappy with where I'm at, or I'm 100%. Not like. That's when I lash out. That's when I, you know, see things that aren't there. That's when I, start attacking people or start seeing enemies around every corner and that. And it's like, it's because like I'm not happy with where I'm at, and I'm insecure about what I'm doing, or I don't feel like, I'm doing enough, or I'm good enough and stuff like that. And then you find external reasons, but it's like, it's that stoicism thing, man. It's internal modus of control. It's what you can like, it's just what you can control. It's about what you have power over. And you don't necessarily have power over your thoughts entirely, but you can try and push them in the right direction. And you can try, like, and not wallow in self-pity and, you know, egotism and all of those things, I guess.
Even if you're just telling yourself, which is one of the essences or the big like tenets of meditation, is just like, you have a thought. Sometimes it's just a fucking
acknowledge
thought.
it.
It's just a thought.
It's a fish swimming by.
It's just like clouds in the sky. You know what I mean? It's like turning a page of another book. It's turning a page of a book. It's done. Like, you don't have to dwell on it. You're like, oh, I got angry and wanted to kill someone because they cut me off in traffic. Everyone has that fucking random rage-filled thought. Everyone sometimes has that
100%.
Thought. And it's just like,
dude,
that does not make you a murderer.
I think of like real life Grand Theft Auto since I was a kid, man. Like the number of times I've imagined like hitting a dude off a bicycle with a motorbike with a baseball bat is far too fucking many. But like by sharing that, I have found out not alone. Not alone. Lots of people all pretty every day.
Up. Yeah.
Like, how do we imagine those sorts of things?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, yeah. No, man. It's but that's actually what I really enjoy about podcasting, I guess. It makes me feel less alone. Like I get to connect with people. And when I share the podcast, a lot of the time the responses I get from people are them saying, you know, like, I'm so grateful that you're doing this. I'm so happy someone's saying these things or sharing these things. And like, yeah, like I get a lot out of that. I feel value and worth, and like, yes, you shouldn't tie your value and worth to other people, but of course it's going to make you feel good. And does just like, it's cool to know that the thing that you're doing, does help other people. So I don't know. That's what I love. Like podcasting doesn't have to be this thing where you're reaching 1 million people. You can literally be reaching 10. And it is the same thing as comedy. Like, you know, comedy, we do a lot of gigs to 10 people, and there are, you know, very meaningful.
Well, there's an article by a guy called Kevin Kelly, and he started Wired magazine. It's called 1,000 True Fans, and it speaks to the metric.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like all you need is 1,000 people who are going to buy every single thing you put out there, and you are living one hell of a comfortable life. No one needs Spotify. Well, I mean, it would be, you know what I mean? It would be nice, but they seem to have some cash to be thrown around. But it's just like.
But do you ever think about that from the fans' perspective, though? Like that you're now like, you know, so like paying for someone else's life, and like you're gonna work every day and you're doing this thing. I mean, I get it. Obviously we pay for, you know, what things that we find valuable in that. Yeah. But I always imagine like a fan hearing, you know, someone talk about like, you know, I need to get to 1,000 fans, and just being like, well, fuck you. Like, why must I be that? Or like, I don't know. I wonder.
Oh, so you're saying it's like being out of touch with the fans as a
not necessarily being out of touch, but just like fans hearing that, you know, you want that essentially, you know, like people here listening, like being like, oh, this guy just wants me to support him, kind of thing. Like like, you know, parasocial relationships essentially, where like you look at Twitch streamers and stuff like that, you know, like where, I don't know, your Twitch has become a weird thing, but yeah, like people constantly interacting by giving money. Yeah, like that's how you get attention. That's how you get.
I see. Okay, so the thing is, like my favorite thing about comedy and the podcast are they're the two things that I've done in my life, so far at least, that have been completely out of the pure love and enjoyment for it. That's it. I don't do like, I've never ever thought about like doing anything other than that. It's just like,
because you're sustained by other things, so like these aren't necessarily.
So, but the thing is I would love, but it's my passion. It's my favorite thing to do, comedy and podcasts. So I would love that I'd love to be paid to do the things that I love. That's it.
No, 100%. And that's the thing. I don't think, I don't think audience members are going to be like, oh, fuck you, you know, you're wanting 1,000 true fans. I think everyone understands it. And I think like we do live in a weird time where, we're putting out products for free, you know, like literally, and just then afterwards being like, hey, if you want to pay for it, please do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love that. Like, I've always loved that. I'm not the biggest Radiohead fan, but like, you know, when they first like released their album as Pay Is What You Want, and like, you know, it kind of became a norm afterwards. Like, you know, Bandcamp does it plenty. Lots of people put out their music and you can pay what you want. And I buy more music these days because I can pay $2 instead of 10. Yeah, so I'll buy 5 albums instead of 1, and, you know, support more people that way. And I love that. You know, it's the same thing with podcasting. Over the years, I've been a patron of various different ones, you know, like, and I change it up because I've only got so much budget. And I understand that, like, even for my podcast, you know, some people have had to drop off over the time and that. And it's just part of the thing. But it's cool that people do value what we do, I guess, you know, enough to put money towards it. And like, I love that. And I do think it deserves it. I just always wonder what the thoughts of other people might be sometimes, you know, like I'm always just interested, like when we talk like, you know, industry stuff, what, like, especially like on my podcast, like, you know, because especially as comedians, or like whenever you're talking to someone who does the thing that you're doing, you get into these spaces that like, if you're not a part of it, like it can sometimes maybe feel alienating, and it might feel like, you know, when people talk about fans or people talk about audience members and stuff like that, I wonder if people get offended sometimes, you know, about like how we talk about like audience members and how we talk about crowds and, you know, the public. And yeah, I just wonder, but like, I don't know.
Well, it's nice to be conscientious about it. Jeez, I always forget that this is going out to people. And you know what I mean? I'm just like, that's also a problem, because I'm just like, for me, it's just like a conversation with a fellow podcast and comedian who like, you know, like who I can vibe with. I'm just like, oh, that's it. And then I'm just like, oh, people are going to hear this. Then I go back and I'm like, do I need to?
The power of the edit.
Do I need to edit? Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, I've had to edit some shit, I'll tell you what. But it's just like,
of course.
Yeah, it's just like mentioning friends' names of like hectically debaucherous parties, and it's like naming by surname and surname and saying where they work, and I'm like, I should have left that part out. Shouldn't talk about this person.
Yeah, don't dox people.
Yeah, I was, but not intentionally. I'm like, oh my god, my friend whatever was doing this. It was so hectic. It was hilarious. You have no idea. He works at this place. They would never let him. And then I'm like, marker. Okay, cool. Hour 30 minutes. Yeah, that's when I have to cut this off. That's when I have to edit.
So do you edit that way? Like I just go through the whole thing and like remove all the ums. That's the biggest like thing I try to do. But
really?
It's I find it to be quite therapeutic like these days.
Okay, that's cool, man. That's really cool. I normally just let it fly, man. I just let it go. I just fucking put it out, man. I put out the things that I shouldn't have put a few times, but I'm like, I want it to be like, I am kind of like a shoot from the hip type of guy, and I do say things that I might regret afterwards. But like people who do know me and people who love me often will be like, oh, that was a hectic thing to say. And then, but they still love me anyway. So I'm just like, well, I want more of those people. You know what I mean? I want more of those people in my life. And I'm just like, it's like, I think by being like, we go back to like full circle, go back to the being authentic thing is like, that's the thing is that like, when you get to, when I got to a place of like, oh, me being myself and people rejecting me is them disqualifying themselves from ever being in my life. It's like, you understand that like you rejecting me is like, this is a mismatch. This was never going to happen. I am not losing anything from this. I am only gaining. I have gained a perspective of, oh, this person wasn't right to be in my life. That it's like, it was a mismatch vibrationally, energetically, etc. So the universe has got better plans for me. Off I go.
Are you? Yeah, you actually are quite spiritual within that regard. Hey, like you are. So what's your overarching belief, I guess? Like, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I used to be staunch atheist, very, very staunch atheist, like kind of like Ricky Gervais, Stephen Fry, fucking Christopher Hitchens, you know, Dawkins.
Yeah, same. Like Hitch was my boy. Like,
yeah, exactly. Dude. So
I'm not a big Ricky Gervais guy these days, but like I did like him when I was younger.
Because
he's someone I just wish would grow up. Like that's all. Like just come on, like get some new material, bro.
Yeah, it's always about how shitty God is and all that stuff. Yeah, you're right. You're actually right. He's beating that drum very fucking to death. You know what I mean? He's speaking about animals and he brings God into it. So I'm like, come on. He has to talk about Noah. I'm like, bro, like every single thing is about God. So it seems like you protest a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Like freaking homophobes who actually turn out to be had turned out to be homosexuals. Yeah, so it's like, but yeah, so I used to be very fucking militantly, very fucking hectically atheist, and then I did psychedelics, and I'm just like, there is a lot more going on here, man. There's a lot more going on, and so I've seen things, man. I've seen things, and I've been in connection with. There is so it's like I speak about like entanglement, you know. So like entanglement is
you and Jada Pinkett Smith both.
Oh fuck, not that type of entanglement. That chick is too crazy. Entanglement theory, as in like fucking quantum theory. So it's like essentially like when the Big Bang happened, there was like pieces of me that are like on the other side of the fucking like galaxy. You know what I mean? It's just like everywhere. Okay. So like the thing is that these tiny little things, we're all made from the same stuff. So we're all interconnected in some way. And like the world is a perfect example. Like this, when it achieves homeostasis and when it is allowed and the ecosystem works as one and there's balance in the force loop, then everything works well. So if there's balance in your life, if you're eating healthily, if you're sleeping, if you're looking after yourself mentally, physically, and doing things that you love, etc., etc., you're going to be happier, you're going to be healthier, you're going to enjoy yourself. So I think there's a lot to be learned from our environment. And as a result, I have realized that there is not an explanation for everything. I can't explain everything because of synchronicities and because of things that have happened and the way I'm putting my energy out into the world and the people that I've attracted, and then the positive people I've attracted for being positive and the negativity I've attracted from having a negative outlook. It's been the evidence has been too obvious for me to deny. So I feel like there is something larger at work, but I 100% believe that there is no way I could ever fathom or understand what the fuck it is and how it works. So I'm quite happy to accept it. Like, I don't know, I'm cool, whatever. I think I've got this kind of figured out, and I'll keep on going.
I'm with you. Like, I'm still like atheist AF. Like, I'm like, yeah, no gods, no anything like that. But like, I appreciate where our brain goes. Like, I appreciate the thoughts that we can have, and like, yeah, the connectivity that we can have with this like esoteric thing that we call God, like, or we call the universe, or we call creation, being, etc. Whatever it is. Like, I don't necessarily like. I have fun with it. Like, I love like the idea that we're in a simulation or like stuff like that, and like, I love playing with those ideas. And yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm not like attached to any of it. I'm not like there is a thing. Like, I'm just like, this is all just a crapshoot, and we're lucky to be experiencing it the way we are. But there's so many ways to also experience it. There's so many things we're not experiencing. There's so many things we're not seeing, literally. Like, or like literally, like there's radioactive waves, and like that's just a prime example of just something that we can't perceive unless we have the right technology to perceive it and to create it and stuff like that, so it's like, yeah, I'm fully aware and fully open to the idea that there is, there could be this plane of existence of angels and demons fighting all around us. That is a possibility. I love thinking about that, but I don't believe it for a fucking second,
I'm not
I think that's where I'm at with a lot of it.
Okay, because I'm not with the whole like kind of heaven and earth things. I think everything exists on earth. I think it's all a construct of our experience.
100%.
It's not. There's no underground, and there's no like heaven above. Like, we don't go anywhere when we die. We're done. Our consciousness floats off, and then gets farted out into the universe through fucking whatever. But it's like, I get like. So what was the shift for you then? Because you went from like quite staunch. So you went atheist, Christian, and
it was just reading again. Yeah, it was just like reading like a short history of nearly everything about Bill Bryson, and then reading, what was it? I read like Sam Harris's End of Faith. I read like I don't like these days. I think I would not recommend that book. It's Islamophobic as fuck, and just like
no, it's pretty.
Yeah, like Sam's grown up a lot since those days, thankfully.
Yeah,
but yeah, like, Hitchens, Dawkins, those guys, and just friends who ridiculed me for saying ridiculous things. And like, it was just a matter of just re-education. And then just, like, it never, like, I think the thing about the God thing that always frustrated me was the thought crime element of it. Like, you can't doubt God because God knows you're doubting him.
Yeah.
Like, so that would just create like a lot of guilt within me and a lot
guilt
of like
and anxiety and
feelings.
For sure.
100%. So just that like that big brotherness of like the whole thing really fucked with me a lot. And and eventually I was like, yeah, dude, this thing isn't real. It's not. Like, you the truth here, and like just analyzing what actually happened, where I was when I found God, and also, just having done drugs, having experienced life, having known more things, and having, just being a bit older and a bit more experienced just made me go, this shit isn't for me. But I get it if it is for other people. And for me, it's always just like, as long as you're not infringing on my rights or anyone else's, believe whatever the fuck you want. Like, that's super dope. But the second where it starts getting into, the public realm and the public sphere, and we have to start debating education and shit like that, and like just whatever, like everything, and people start bringing their religion into things, that's where I start getting frustrated. And like, that's where it depends on where we are and what we're discussing as to like exactly how open I am, if that makes sense. Like, there might be some cases where I'm just like, no, that's not a thing, we're not going to discuss that here, that's not relevant, you know, like if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. No, I do. It's like bringing it into it's just like, it's bringing it into subjects. It's like, it's like the opposite of what Ricky Gervais does. Ricky Gervais, because he wants to talk about it during animals, and then people are talking about like the birds and the bees, and then they have to fucking talk about, isn't God amazing? You know what I mean? Or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Like,
that's exactly it. Like,
yeah.
And it's more just like, even like when it comes to laws, you know, people being like, oh, we should have the death penalty because it's like what God wants. And it's like, that's a fucking dumb reason to have the death penalty. Like, I'm sorry, like that's just no, thank you.
Hey man, I used to be for the death penalty, but as of recently, I've actually changed my mind completely. So
there you go. you are about the changing your mind thing.
I am, man. I am. It's just like, well, like funny enough, like you speak of like Donald Trump, you know, like Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like cool. Like she's a minority, awesome. She's a woman, which is also awesome.
She is a cop. Like,
yeah, and then also, but the thing is, there's history of her fucking hiding evidence that would get death row people off. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit that she's done. Yeah, she's very hardline when it comes to crime and stuff like that. She's like, so that's the thing. She checks the boxes of being a black woman, but her policies aren't necessarily like that's of what you would assume a black woman might have in current politics in America. But yeah, they're in for, like, they're definitely in a case of like picking the lesser of two evils, but the contrast is so stark. It's like, it is just like, it's like the difference between Satan and a demon. It's exactly. Joe Biden's like, you know, just a regular ass demon. He's the demon we all know. Like you know, he's the classical political demon that we can carry on living our lives. You know, it makes hell a bit more bearable. But when Donald Trump's in power, hell is just like unreal. Like, it's not manageable. It's
exactly. Yeah, it's fucking it's like little Nicky, bro. It's like Harvey Keitel trying to shove a pineapple up fucking Hitler's ass, dude. It's just goes.
Right, that is literally what I was thinking about when I was talking there.
It's like, it's straight. Most first reference out in my head is like, oh, okay, boom, big fucking pineapple up Hitler's ass, dude. Yeah, dude. I don't know. The world's that's also the thing as well. It's like the world as fucked up and how crazy whatever it is. It's like, yeah, it is fine. I accept it and try. But the thing is, all essentially you can do is then, well, not much you can do about it at the moment, and just carve out your little slice of heaven where you can. You know what I mean? Like, just like there are so many. That's why I love gratitude, because I'm with the spiritual thing. Is like I'm just like so much shit to be grateful for, dude. It's just like, wow, I didn't get COVID. I'm having a son. I'm fucking, I can like, I have somewhere to live. There's roof over my head. I can afford fucking things that I want to do. I'm like, my life is pretty damn fucking great. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, why would I even begin to bitch? You know what I mean? And it's
I'm with you there.
You know,
I try to feel that way as much as possible, but I also like to extend it as well. Like, I do think it's not enough to make your life great. You do have to try and make the world slightly better, but the world around you. It's not about like necessarily trying to influence global politics. It's about helping the guy on the street. It's about supporting the charities that are in your neighborhood. It's about volunteering your time, like, and those sorts of things, because I do think like that's how we actually long-term fight the monsters, you know, like it is by community. It is by, you know, genuinely just doing something and like, and just, connecting with the world around you. And like, it's good to be grateful, but I don't think it's enough. And I don't think it like will be fulfilling enough. I've found for myself at least, you know, like, cause I do that. Like, you know, the days where I'm like, why am I feeling this way? You know, like I've got everything, and it's like, you've got everything, but like, what are you doing? And that's where like a lot of the discomfort, at least for me, like comes in, because it's like, the world at large is fucked up, and the world outside my flat isn't as fucked up. So let me start there, I guess.
Wow, that's a fucking awesome perspective. That's amazing. I noticed on your podcast that like I think it was like with part of your Patreon or whatever goes to a specific charity.
To Sasonke, yeah. So they are working to decriminalize sex work in South Africa. It's sex workers. It's by sex workers for sex workers. It's something that I care quite a lot about, because I just, I understand that a lot of people that are in it are doing it because of necessity, but I also feel that it's something that people should have the right to do. Like, I think you should be allowed to use your body in any way you feel necessary to make money. It's just another fucking job. But I think the realities of it in South Africa, and for Black women and for poor people in general who are forced to do it, to pay for, you know, their kids, for their lives, for everything, because of the lack of jobs and stuff like that. It's something that, like, I really feel, and it's also, they're just disproportionately fucked with by the police, and they don't have any protection. You know, you can't go to the police if, you know, John like fucks you up or doesn't pay you and shit like that. So there's so many elements to it, the way I just feel the one aspect that we can work on is just getting it decriminalized first, and then we can remove those barriers in a lot of ways. But yeah, there's lots of discussions when it comes to decriminalization versus legalization and all of that. But just personally, I just think people should be allowed to fuck for money, and then there are the other elements with it within South Africa. So yeah, Sisonke is the one organization. And then another one in Durban that I really, even though they're like a Christian organization, Dennis Hurley Center does a lot for homelessness in Durban. And so they get some of my money. Like, so the podcast gives Sisonke money, and then like the Dennis Hurley Center is one that I just like, really, just in general, homelessness is something we do need to be fucking like dealing with. Dude, so if you've 100%. Got some cash, like, you know, give it to the guy on the streets and give it to, you know, the homes. Like,
well, I mean, the amount of like, look at America at the moment, like with regards to homelessness specifically, LA, New York, the big cities, San Francisco, they're all like, a lot of fucking homelessness is a result of mental health issues. It's just like people can't.
Same here.
Yeah, exactly.
Same here.
It's fucking endemic, and the whole thing is, it's like no one really wants to fucking live outside, but they can't sustain themselves, so they need care, they need help, they need people to fucking service them. And like, I mean, by donating, that's what you can do. You can give these people shelter, and then also just like just a sense of like you know, okay, they can just feel good about themselves. Like, I think that's also got a lot to do with it. Imagine how depressing it must be to fucking be sleeping on the streets. And they're like, oh, I can stay at a home tonight. You know what I mean? I can do something that actually makes me feel like a human. I can have a shower. I can have an interaction. I can have a hot meal. All the basic things that people actually fucking deserve, you know?
Yeah. I think the key thing is just like, the one thing that really gets my goats is when people are shitty to homeless people. Because I'm just like, how? Like, what is in your mind, like, that makes you think that anything is okay about, like, you know, talking to someone like shit like that, you know, like just, you know, you see like certain like instances, and it's just like, just say no. Like, like someone like, it might get a little irritating. I do get irritated when like someone asks me 10 times for money, of course, like, you know, but like, there's a reason why he's fucking asking you 10 times. Like, you know, it's like, there's just, can't you just look at your shoes? Look at his shoes. Like, just have some fucking empathy and just be cool. Like, it doesn't take a lot for you to just be a cool person. Like, to this stranger who's clearly got it worse than you. Like, and it sucks to like even have like these, you know, class and quality judgments and that, but that is what it is. And it is this thing of like, how the fuck can you have everything going for you in this world and still be angry at someone else for having nothing?
That's such a fucking good point. Wow, dude, you broke that down so hastily. It's just like, and also, what is the difference? What's the difference between going like when a guy at the window, you know what I mean, when they beg at the traffic lights, whatever. There's no difference. It takes no fucking more effort or energy. It probably takes a hell of a lot less. Like people who go get out, you know what I mean, get irritated with them and be like, sorry, but I just don't have any change today. They respond the same way. It gets the same message across, and one doesn't ruin someone else's day. Do you know what I mean? Or make their day fucking worse. It's just like, it's
and
just
you probably won't feel angry. Like, you won't, like, your day will just be better.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, I mean, a lot of that also just comes with people feeling like, I think, insecure once again, you know, like, and they just go, oh, the state of the country, and they probably fear that could be them one day, maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know, but that is just like a potential theory of just like, you see like something you really don't want, like something you really fear, and so it just has this like hectic reaction from you. But I'm literally just sucking out of my thumb there.
Hey,
like,
man,
I have no fucking clue.
It could be that, or some people are just so high on the ego and so worried about fucking like I don't know, they're so consumed with their own lives. I think also the whole, like with the homeless thing, the charity is just like, okay, yeah, fine, concentrate on yourself, look at yourself, be grateful for what you've got, like I said. But then there's also just like, but then I think maybe when people are in a place, well, not in a place, but like as soon as you start helping people, I was going through Instagram today, and I don't know if you know Mark Manson. He wrote a book called
No.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, but it's not like what the title says. He's just like, he just swears a lot or whatever. But he says is like, oh, how do you get into a better mood? Decide you're going to help someone. Step 1. 2, help them. Step 3, don't post it on social media. Problem solved.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And then I'm just like, it is like the act of helping. Altruism is like the greatest fucking source of, like personal sovereignty, not sovereignty. But
I mean, but that also then brings up like the weird, like, are you then doing it for selfish reasons? Yeah, like,
Absolutely.
and I joke, like, I struggle with that, and was like, especially like with the, choosing to publicly, like with the podcast, like go behind like a charity, and not just a charity, but one that like, well, it's not even a charity, it's an NPO, but like one that's so, I guess, political in a way, and so like hectic in a way, but it was just in a way, it was a response to the Black Lives Matter thing. I was like, I can't just post a fucking black square. That's not really doing anything. That's not like actually having an impact. And the way I also see it is by talking about the podcast, by bringing it up every week, by dropping the name every week, more people are going to just know about it. And yes, sometimes like there can be positive value judgments from other people on me based on the fact that I'm doing charity. Like, I hate that that is a thing that I know and that they know and that we all fucking know, that like if someone does something good, other people think highly of them. But I know that that's not why I'm doing it. It's like, it's something that like I've, chosen and thought about and gone, these are things I actually care about. How can, in small ways, just have a positive impact? And I think that's very important, like just for everyone to do. I think just find what you fucking care about and try and make it better.
Fuck yeah, dude. I couldn't have said it better myself, dude. That's fucking, yeah, exactly. It's self-fulfilling. It fulfills other people. It's just like I always say, like, just be a nice cunt, boo. Just be a nice cunt. You know what I mean? Just be a nice cunt, dude. Well, like, fuck, dude. I really appreciate you for doing this, dude. It's been awesome chatting.
Yeah, dude. This has been a wonderful chat. Like, I didn't know we'd go this long, but
yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting being on the other side of this, and it felt a little bit like I was interviewing you at times.
Man, I got no problem.
I get into that.
Yeah, dude, I dig it. I dig it. That's also the nice thing about speaking to podcasters. They like, there's never dead air because they know how to do it, bro. They understand it. Like some people. I mean, I'm sure you'll know. Like some people, it's just like, fuck, you feel like you got to poke them with a stick a bit. You know what I mean? To get some out of them. You just like, and you can't sit there being like, yeah, sure, this is so interesting. Oh my god, yeah, you're really enjoying this. Cool, bro. Like, so you take.
You see, this is why I get guests that I've spoken to before. Like, this is why. So there's like that screener processes before. It's like, I've had a good conversation with you. I know you can do it. Although it's also, that's where the editing process helps a lot, is where people, like there are certain people I've interviewed who talk way slower and have way bigger gaps in the way they talk than you'll hear on the podcast. They'll go, well, blah, blah, blah. But you don't hear any of that. Like, because the way I edit the podcast for myself is if something irritates me, I take it out.
Oh, okay. Makes
so
sense.
Like whilst I'm listening, if I hear like an audio fucking tick that like bugs me, I'm just like, fuck that, gone. Yeah. And so that, and then like, yeah, like if there's like, a long pause, I'm like, nah, I don't want that. So it's just about for my own personal like pleasure, I guess.
No, for sure. Well, that's good. That's awesome, dude. So okay, so like your podcast is almost perfect, and it can be found anywhere that people find podcasts. Yeah,
anywhere except SoundCloud, because I've got to pay for fucking SoundCloud. So fuck that,
dude. I'm not doing that either, bro. Fuck that. Yeah, dude. No. And then also you do lives. So you do lives every now and again as well.
I was doing the live thing at the beginning of Corona, like everyone. We were all doing video content, pivoting to video, but I've put it on pause for now. And I do want to do video content, but I think I want to do more produced stuff, if that makes sense. Like stuff that's like, like I've had lots of ideas for a long time. And so, like I don't know, the almost live thing I might do again, I might not, but I would prefer to just stick to the podcast for now. Like that's what I'm
Nice.
going to be doing for the next little while, and then whatever other projects, because I'm writing a lot at the moment. That's most of what I'm actually doing. So people can check out some of it on almostperfect.co.za. I'm doing top 5 lists. I write about music and art and culture, and then also the podcast and everything else.
Okay, well, I'll put all the links in the show notes as usual, dude. I really appreciate you doing this. Thanks, man.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool, bud.
Cool. Later, bro.
Cheers, dog.